Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm. It's back to far North Queensland, and the locals here are proud of their show. It's the 2019 Atherton Car, Bike and Swap Meet. I'm Fletch, and this is Classic Restos. This is the 8th annual show here in Atherton, and for the past 7 years, vehicles of all types have travelled various distances to come along and support this growing event. What I love about these shows is that it's a total mystery when it comes to what vehicle will turn up. Every year there is something different, and as I speak right this moment, there is a car, a truck or a bike being restored, or about to be found in a barn that will surprise people next year. So now it's time to walk the paddock to see who is around and ready to showcase their vehicle on this week's show. Here at Atherton for 2019. How you doing, Cameron?
Yeah, good, Fletch.
So, thanks for turning up.
Yeah.
Now, also from Tableland Batteries. Now, you played an integral part of having Classic Restos return for 2019, so appreciate that.
It's a good event, yep.
Now, a 1971, it's a Kombi. We know it's a Kombi. I'm amazed at what people are doing with these Kombis. There's a whole plethora of different ways to go about it, keeping them 100% original, preserving them, the patina look. What you've done here, different colour, different wheels. What's the story?
Yeah, just wanted to bling it up a bit. It's surf blue, the colour. Porsche wheels. It's a 71 deluxe low-lite.
Okay, explain. What's the low-lite mean?
The low-lite, it's a 71. The front lights are lower than the later bay. Yeah.
Okay. Any advantages there, or just aesthetic purposes?
It was the first to have disc brakes and the first with the twin-port engine.
Right, okay. There you go. Now, a lot of these, all of our vehicles have got a story. What's this one? Where did you find it?
Used to be my uncle's vehicle. It was laying under a mango tree for about 20 years. It was rusty and mouldy, and we dragged it out and decided to clean it up.
What is it with Kombis and being in the northern part of Australia and mango trees? It's just it's almost, the mangoes are synonymous with the vehicle, aren't they?
Yeah, no, well, they weren't of value years ago, so people pushed them out of the shed and put them under a tree, and all of a sudden they started hitting high prices, so we all dragged them out and cleaned them up. Yep. That
is amazing with a lot of our vehicles, particularly these Kombis though, vehicles that were once upon a time discarded, and the effort, the level of attention to detail that people are going to with these vehicles these days, they're turning them into absolute masterpieces.
Yeah, no, they come up well, yeah, yep.
Okay, now when you got it from under the tree, obviously it was very bad, Cameron.
Yeah, rusty, it's a resheet, sandblast, in and out, two and a half years, yep.
Okay, now the seating looks great. Looks like you can fit about 30 people in there. What's the go there? You added the seats are in it?
No, it's a deluxe, a 9-seater. I haven't got the 9th seat in today, but it is a 9-seater. It was built like that, yeah. Yep.
What do you love about it?
It's different, just different, yeah. They come up well, yeah.
Mate, you've gone all out with the interior. It's not overdone. It's simplistic, it's plain, but it's very, very neat. Now, down to the door cards and the trim inside, where did you source that?
TMI, America. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's all original styling, but it was neat. It was well done, yeah. Yep.
Have you got any other cars in your collection at all?
Just acquired genuine XU1. I've got a 58 split windscreen Kombi. I've got a Mini GT. Yeah, there's plenty others, but yeah, they're the main ones.
There you go. He's serving our fraternity proud. Good on you, Cameron. Well done. And thanks again, mate, for turning up and being a very important part of this event here at Atherton for 2019. Thanks, Cameron.
All good. Thanks, Fletch.
This is Cameron's Kombi from Tableland Batteries. That means it's all about positives and negatives. We don't want to have any trouble here today either. So Cameron better not try and start anything.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal. An E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
Hare & Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools, sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare & Forbes has the range. Moving along now with something completely different. How you doing, Phil?
Not bad, Fletch. How are you today?
Good, mate. Good. You've brought something here very, very unique. Now, first of all, it's a 44 cab, a Ford Jailbar. Yeah. And up front, what do you got?
International KB7 grille shell, 36 Dodge headlights, and a 331 Hemi.
How cool is this? Now, preceding the legendary 426 Hemi, of course, back in the 50s, we had the 331, a 354, and a 392 cubic inch Hemi. And I don't think there'd be another internal combustion engine with as much, legacy, apart from Henry Ford's side valve V8, than the Hemi.
Correct. You're right there. And it's something that I wanted to get way back in the 60s. I bought a book from Peterson Publishing Company, 1965, and it had all about the Hemi in it, and that sold me, and I wanted one since then. I've always been Mopar, but this was my first Hemi.
They're an incredible engine. They went into the Imperials, into the upper echelon in the 1950s, the luxury cars. Of course, the top fuel drag racing history as well, Hemis. And they didn't call them the elephant engine for nothing. Huge in size, the width of those cylinder heads. Of course, the early Hemis, the leads were covered with a nice metal rail that covered the leads. Here, wide open, made in the fresh air. What a monster.
Yeah, oh, she's a beauty, all right. Goes well, she's very torquey, and quite good to drive, actually. It's, good brakes, so I'm happy with it, yeah.
I think the secret with a Hemi, with a street Hemi, in this sort of a form, is to keep it sedate so it behaves itself, idles nice in traffic. That was a big thing back in the 60s. Guys would cam up the Hemis. They didn't like idling in traffic. They weren't designed for that.
No, that's right, yeah. That's why I've kept this like it is. A single carburetor manifold on it, dual plane, so I can drive it anywhere. I made that quite tough, the suspension, chassis and everything, so with the roads we got up here are shocking. So, and it's got mud flaps on it because you've got to have it here.
Got to have those mud flaps, Phil. Now, speaking of chassis, now you're a very clever guy. Now, just walk us through what you've done. You just alluded to with the rails, front suspension, the work you've done there.
Well, okay, it's a home-built chassis, 4x2 box, 4mm I made it out of. I made my own front cross member. I had to get a mechanical engineer to certify that. It's got all Jag A-arms and brakes on it. The rear end is Jag independent. It's a 3.3 to 1, coincidentally to the Hemi, with limited slips. So it's quite good. The gearbox is a A833 new process Mopar box out of a Dodge Ram pickup. Fourth gear's overdrive, which makes it good cruising.
That legendary Mopar 4-speed box, how tough were they? The A833. They were in the 440 Magnums, like in the Bullet car, in the movie Bullet. A lot of performance cars, as you say, behind the Hemis as well. They were tough. And they used to have their, of course, standard 8 3/4 rears and the Danas running the Dana rear ends behind the Hemis.
Dana 60s, yeah, no, tough machines, all right, but that's Chrysler, isn't it?
Certainly is. But I love what you have done here because it is something uniquely different. That's the beautiful thing about Classic Restos and interviewing guys like this, because you turn up on a paddock and you'll go anywhere in Australia, you won't find another vehicle exactly the same. You've got the best of both worlds. You've got the 44 cab, which is legendary, and the Jailbar. I love what you've done with the Hemi out front. And in the back, the timber work's beautiful. What sort of wood's that?
Flooring. Put a new floor in his house, and that was left over, so I used the tongue and groove for that. So
good to see you keeping the dream alive, mate. Nice to meet up with you, Phil.
Fletch, yeah, same here, mate.
I love what you've done with it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
It's
Coming from you.
It's very clever.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I'm a clever bloke.
I know you are. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Well, here we are in far North Queensland, and of course, so is Shannons. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And if you really enjoy watching Classic Restos, there are over 315 episodes awaiting you at the Shannons Club, along with a whole heap of other cool stuff for you to have a browse through. For more information, go and check out shannons.com.au. Time now for a golden oldie. How are you, Tex?
I'm well, thank you, Fletch.
That is good. Now, the reason I picked on you, a 1929 Buick Marquette. Now, as you alluded to earlier, not so much from a show perspective, but the angle that I want to take on this car is to show the example of what Holden used to do, obviously the history of Holden in this country starting back in the mid-1800s, and building bodies for Buick and other cars as well, just prior to the Great Depression.
That's exactly right, yes. And they used to import them into Australia from America, and they came in as chassis and wheels only. That's all that was on it. And they bring them out, and then they take them to the Holden factory, where they would make complete new bodies for them to suit Australian conditions and right-hand drive.
Kind of makes you feel a bit proud too when you look down there on the cowling there, in terms of the A-pillar, and seeing the Holden
bodies, yes.
badge there, you know, and
Exactly.
it just makes you realise how diverse they were as a company back in those times.
Yes. Yeah, they did an enormous amount of bodies for and a number of cars. Yeah, most of the GMH cars that came out here were all done with the Holden.
Interesting too. Well, we think of the 48, the FX215 as being, you know, the only thing Holden did, and it's quite amazing what they did. They also did bodies for Chrysler as well.
They did, yes, they did, and there were a number of companies that used to bring them out. There wasn't a lot of companies in Australia that could fit out the chassis that were being sent out from America. It was a much easier and cheaper way of doing it.
Okay, Tex, now tell us the difference between the Australian body and, say, this body in the United States, for example.
The Australian body has got a Lando rail on the back behind the back window, where the American bodies had a glass panel in the back. That was the differential.
Of course they would have. Of course the Americans would have. Hey, let's put a bit more glass in there. We don't want no chrome rail. We want glass. We want to be able to see out of there.
Well, that's it. It is a bit easier to see out of too. It's a bit of a blind spot there.
I think it's amazing. Thank you very much, Tex. Well, I should ask before you go. History of the car. This I love this side of it. Where did it come from?
I got this from Tasmania. It was originally bought by a fruit processing company down the south of Tasmania. It was then, it was with the company for many, many years, and then it was disbanded and left in the paddock. And when the fellow that restored this originally bought it, it had a tree growing up through the middle of it, and yes, so it's had a big revamp right throughout its history. But that was way back in the 50s when that happened.
Good on you, Tex, for saving its life, mate.
Thank you. Good, Fletch. Right. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Kombi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
If you have a restoration project, Hare and Forbes has the tools that you need. Shrinker stretchers, dollies, mallets, bead rollers, profile gauges, professional panel restoration kits, and so much more. Now I warn you, enter at your own risk because you will end up buying something. So come along to your Cap City store or browse and buy online at machineryhouse.com.au because Hare and Forbes has the range. Time for a bike here at Atherton. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, very well, Fletch. How are you?
Good, mate. Good, beautiful. 1971 Honda 750 overhead cam. Back in 71, this was a serious bit of kit.
Certainly was. Yeah, do 190. Yeah, you can nearly do 192 up with these things.
Okay, mate. Looks restored. Give us a run through.
It took me about 4.5 years to do this properly. Started in about 2011 and finished in towards the end of 2014, and it's been a bit of a trip of love and hate and everything else in between, trying to get all the bits. But
It always is, mate.
she's a goer and she's a lot of fun to ride.
How many years you been into the bike side?
I started when I was about 16 and I haven't stopped really. I had a couple of breaks, but yeah, it's always good to ride.
No doubt about the Japanese, they did a good job. It's a good looking bike, isn't it?
Oh, they were fantastic, and they had a button to start. You didn't have to worry about kicking them. That's what I like as I'm getting older.
It's an awesome job, mate. Good on you. Now, you've got a brother here this year. What's he riding?
He's got an old 1937 BSA side valve.
Let's go check out the BSA. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Fletch.
Nothing like keeping it in the family. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, good, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. Beautiful. Hey, your brother's bike over there. You've turned up with this 37 BSA.
Yep, awesome.
It is incredible. It's interesting when we look at the evolution of early push bikes as they evolved, putting engines into frames. We look at the seating, we look at the springs, very much like a push bike. They're evolving slowly, but boy, by 1937, some things really started changing, didn't they?
Yeah, sure did. Well, that was a tourer. You could go touring.
Tell us about this bike anyway, mate.
Yeah, I'm the second owner of it. Tom Ripley owned it in Tolga there. My dad bought it for me like when I was 12-year-old, and I've had it ever since. And yeah, only in the last 7 years I've got it looking how it should.
What a cool looking thing. And the side gear lever as well.
Yeah, the old hand gear change. It's, yeah, it works.
I guess the questions, I don't want them to seem silly. It's a 1937 bike, so the questions of, how does it go and is it powerful and all this sort of thing may be kind of irrelevant. But keeping in respect of 1937, is it a good thing for the year in your opinion? Is it good to ride?
It is good to ride. Yeah, the front end's all girder fork. Yeah, they work well.
It's amazing, isn't it? To think now in 2019, how ahead of its time it would have been back then had you bought this brand new.
Yeah, no, Tom's brother owned it, and yeah, he rode it for years, and then he hit something and wrote the front end off. He put it all back together like
We've got such old technology here, yet it's just so good.
Yeah, well, you can rebuild them, keep them going. Yeah, that's what I like about them.
As the rain comes in. We're getting up close and personal. Run through the engine in terms of 1937 with the BSA, Jim. How advanced was this particular engine?
It had all roller bearings in it, normal cams, side valve, 350 cc's.
In terms of the marketing for 37, advertising copy, did it have any advantages over the competition?
Oh, not really. Nah. Yeah, there's a lot of other bikes that were better, but these are the most popular.
All right, mate, before I let you go, what's your thoughts on Atherton for this year, for 2019, here in the paddock?
Yeah, awesome. Bring it on.
It's good to see the bikes turn up. Look how many bikes we've got here. It's an increase on last year. It's always good to see an increase in numbers.
Yep. Hope this drizzle stays away.
All right, Jim. Nice chatting, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Fletch, good one.
You're welcome, mate. Stay upright.
Always.
G'day, my name's Mick. This is my 62 EJ Holden. I purchased this 10 years ago. Prior to that, it was sitting in a garden shed, for about 8 years. Prior to that, it was sitting in a shed in Sydney for about 12 years. Since purchasing it, it took me 5 years to restore it, and it's just a labour of love. And I just drive it everywhere and anywhere. People seem to like it. I like it. This EJ means a lot to me because it brings back memorability of years ago when I was a young lad driving around in them, associated with other clubs overseas. It's just one of those cars that you just can't go by. My Holden is actually not quite dead original paint because I couldn't get the formula, but it's still green and white. The white walls, well, that just takes me back years when they first come out of the factory. They were an optional extra whether you wanted them or not, and it just breaks the car up. When I'm driving the car, it makes me feel rather proud that I've done all this myself. With the air conditioning 4 down, yeah, it goes really, really well, and people look at it, they give you a thumbs up, so obviously everybody else appreciates these cars, and I just like seeing the older cars on the road. This EJ's, it's the last of the 138 side plate motors. They're a very torquey sort of an engine. After this, they went to the red motors. Now that I bought this, I'd only buy it if I had the grey motor on it because I'm not interested in hot rodding cars. I'm sort of a more original person. It's got the 3-speed in it, very low geared. Put it into gear, drive up the gillies, top gear, just carry on. Doesn't matter whether you're going slow or not. Plus, only one of these, they're so simple to work on. They're really, really reliable. Drive along the road, if you do break down, you can fix it on the side of the road. Not like these modern cars, you've got to plug them into computers. That's just not me. I'm a simple person, simple car, and that's all you need. My car's insured with Shannons. All my cars have been insured with Shannons. They're one of the best insurers around, and I would stand by them no matter what. I love my classic Holdens, always have. Even though I was a Ford man years ago, I've actually crossed the line. They are one of the better cars. Being involved with clubs also helps you out. I love driving it, and everybody else that I know likes my car. So I'm very, very happy to own a Holden. I love driving my Holden. It's keeping the dream alive of all these older cars. Bring them out, get them going, put them on the road. Everybody loves them. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That's a wrap. Just some of the 2019 Atherton car, bike and swap meet, and you've seen it first on Classic Restos. As I say at the end of every episode, until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ClassicRestosTV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts, Hare and Forbes Machinery House, and Pace Farm.